Howdy folks, this is Wild Bill. Welcome to Top Tips for the Modern Cowboy. The topic of today's video is more bluffs. We've already seen some examples of where we took money from the tables without actually having a hand, and we're going to see another example of this right now. In this particular hand we are on the button and we have Jack Deuce of spades, and we should be open raising quite wide from the button, so this is a pretty good hand to raise on the button. So that's what we do. We use the half pot button to help us find our open raise sizing of 22,500, and our opponent decides to call. The flop comes ace 6-4 with a diamond draw. Notice that this is not really a very good flop for us. In fact, our plan at this point in the hand should really be to give up, and as such we decide to just check back the flop when our opponent checks. We don't need to be continuing in spots where we don't have a very good chance of improving. However, something interesting happens right now, and if you recall the previous video on bluffing, it wasn't so much about the type of hand we have, but using logic to try and work out if our opponent actually has a strong hand and whether he's likely to be folding. The interesting thing that's happened right now is that our opponent has checked again. Now surely if he had actually connected with this flop, then there's actually a pretty good chance that even if he did check the flop, after we check back he's now going to seriously think about betting his strong hands on the turn. In other words, it's very unlikely this guy has any hand which is a pair of aces or stronger. He never has two pair, he never has a set. Actually, most of the time this guy just has nothing. So this is going to be a very good spot to fire the turn. So we go ahead and bet the turn for around about half pot, and unfortunately it doesn't work. Our opponent does actually call. We do still think that in general he's quite weak, so what kind of hands could he maybe have called the turn with? Well, if we think carefully, there's a number of hands which are actually draws. For example, he might have something like Queen Jack, King Queen, all of which have gut shots. He may have some diamond draws. He may have things like 7-8 which have a gut shot, 3-5 for a straight draw, 7-5 for a straight draw. He may of course also hit a pair of tens on the turn, and he's possibly not going to fold a pair of tens if we try and bluff the river, but all of the other hands he can have are going to be reasonably straightforward folds for him. If he has something like King 5 of diamonds which never made a flush on the river, he actually has the best hand at this point in time, but he's going to find it quite easy to fold this hand. So given that our opponent can have any number of busted draws, and even though our bluff did not work out on the turn, this is going to be a good spot to continue our aggression and bluff again on the river. There's 110,000 in the middle, and we decide to make it 3/4 pot, 82,500, and fortunately our opponent does fold and we rake the pot. Thanks very much for watching. This has been Wild Bill, the future governor of poker.